Warminster is a beautiful ancient market town nestled amongst Cranbourne Chase, South Downs, Clay Hill and Salisbury Plain. The River Wear, Canamore and Haygrove all start here and flow through the town, feeding the Avon, and many SSSIs are recognised. This panoramic view was filmed from Clay Hill to show you the 105 hectares of land designated to meet the government target for UK housing within Warminster, Wiltshire. The Wiltshire Core Strategy states it does not provide for additional development, and the development quanta will remain set at 900 homes and 6 hectares of employment land for the West Urban Extension. However, developers are refusing to work together, resulting in applications containing 2 master plans, proposing 2 developer visions and totalling over 1,800 dwellings. The core strategy took 10 years to create, using taxpayers' money to give more freedom to the developers, but to protect and enhance market towns of Wiltshire. We have a sustainable vision of our own in line with the core strategy, which delivers the West Urban Extension requirement, but enables our much-loved town to thrive, builds on the integrity of its surroundings, and helps root the new and existing communities for a strong future. For a balanced community, there are 40 other SHLAs available across the town. This film debates the issues, concerns and the vision of the Warminster community, supporting a centralised sports hub and recreational area on the small section of 21 hectares you are now seeing. Please support us in making this happen. Welcome. I just want to introduce the day and to give you a little bit of information around why we're here and what the idea behind this presentation is. Welcome to our panel. Jim George is on the end, next to Sandra George, Sandra Adlam, Ian Frostick and George Williams. Each one of these individuals represents an action group. I myself represent Folly Lane. Jim and Sandra represent St Andrews Road. Sandra Adlam represents Haygrove, and George Williams is also from Star and will be talking around the wider West Urban Extension ideas that we have. In regards to the discussion today, I'm very much looking forward to audience participation. I have a map, which I'm not sure if you're all familiar with, but it indicates Warminster as a whole rather than the parish itself. So this is Warminster town. You can see the red road is the A36, and the yellow squares and blobs all over it are what they call SHLAs. And that means that Wiltshire Council have designated these pieces of land as potential housing or mixed use, from employment through to recreational use, sports, and any other requirements for the town, such as medical centres, schools, all of those infrastructure pieces. In regards to our discussions today, we are looking predominantly at the west side of Warminster, which is the fairly solid yellow section over here. It's represented by 9 SHLAs, and those SHLAs run from Folly Lane right the way through to Bath Road. The idea behind this is the core strategy designates that 900 houses will be built somewhere on that level. In regards to employment infrastructure, they're proposing 6 hectares of land set aside for that, And with regards to sporting and recreational facilities, at the moment there is an open opportunity around that. Over to you.
Good afternoon. For those who don't know me, my name is Sandra George and I head up the action group at St Andrews Road, or STAR. Along with my husband Jim, who likes to chip in now and again, I'm extremely passionate about stopping the build on the STAR field. If you ask any councillor, they will tell you we haven't got a chance in hell. However, being forever the optimist, I feel and must continue to believe it won't happen, at least this time around. Redrow have submitted planning applications 4 times, and each time they have been rejected on the grounds of drainage and flooding. Nothing has changed, so why now? The same issues are still there, this has to be the angle we follow, and Redrow's weak spot. I will continue to find out as much as I can and pursue this. The impending neighbourhood plan states that as a town we need sport facilities in one place. We already have the rugby club, so why not have all the facilities on the STAR field? With the right access plan to Victoria Road. Obviously, I will, together with my fellow action group leaders, endeavour to continue to stop anything being put there. I just see this as a better alternative. Thank you.
My name's Sandra. I live in Paygrove Close. We're a small community. We have a number of issues with development of this land currently proposed. First, planning permission has been refused at least 4 times previously over the last 20 years, mainly for reasons of drainage. We believe it is unsuitable for a housing development. Currently, when we have heavy rainfall, our stream turns into a river, and the knock-on effect downstream causes issues in Brook Street, Fore Street and through the Common, a play area regularly seen as a lake. We are the cause of that lake. Paygrove is in a setting of Cranbourne Chase and in a direct view of Clay Hill. We believe that by building homes in this area, some of which 3-storey apartments, is in an elevated position 25 feet higher than Paygrove, would cause high visual impact, dominating the landscape. We have hedgerows thriving with wildlife. We have currently 53 species of wildlife, which is at least 10 are notable declining species. Red and amber status declared by the IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature. We have migrating species such as swallows, swifts, arriving each year, skimming St Andrews Field, feeding on the insects. We have bats feeding from the abundance of insects around the trees surrounding Paygrove. We cannot replace this wildlife. Replanting trees and hedges somewhere else will not bring them back. The government has brought in legislation to protect hedgerows and wildlife. We could benefit this land considerably. It would make more sense to extend the current sporting facilities of the rugby club. The rugby club require more sports pitches. The football and the hockey club require pitches. Bring together these facilities and other leisure activities in one area for all to enjoy. Natural landscaping, country park, pathways, walkways, picnic areas, sports pitches, allotments and a conservation area. Somewhere for the young and the older generations. A place to live, a place to work, a place to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And I think that's an important point to end that part of the conversation, because we're not just pointing out issues with the development, the infrastructure, the traffic, the flooding. We're also talking, and the environment impact, we're also making suggestions about things that we can do in that area for the whole town to enjoy. Centralised the sporting facilities and recreational facilities, bringing other things to the area for other people to enjoy as well. This isn't just about not in our backyard by any means. And on that note, George, I know you're quite interested in allotments, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a national shortage of allotments in the United Kingdom now, and that field in St Andrews Road, part of it could be an ideal spot to develop new allotments, because I'm sure there's probably a waiting list in Warminster or the surrounding area where people have applied and have been told no chance. In fact, I was told I'd be lucky to get one in my lifetime. So, you know, the opportunity is there for anybody from anywhere in Warminster. and not just allotments, but if those 900 houses get built, there's very little facility for young children. Play area. We could develop a really good play area in that field, along with sports facilities, rugby club, football club. Certainly expand the rugby club and the football club, and give the football club a central place to work from, because I believe at the moment it's actually split around, and I'm not talking about our town football club, I'm talking about youth football. It is spread around various areas.
Which exacerbates the traffic problems.
Absolutely, because people have got to drive the kids to and from sports grounds.
Okay.
My point about this is, I agree with you, I believe, because our grandson's involved in the sport. The sports fields cost money. The only way you're going to get money is by selling land to a developer to get the money to increase the source of it. So we're...
Understood, but let's not forget, we're talking, as per core strategy, 900 houses. Persimmon themselves believe they can build 1,200 in the land to the north of Victoria Road. If we have to have 900 as per the core strategy, and if we have to have them in the west, then they could be built, as long as Ian, and as Ian points out, with the right infrastructure and the right drainage, they could be built easily to the north of Victoria Road. And the other thing I would urge everyone to consider, again back to the traffic, is they're talking about building land there, or setting aside land for commercial and industrial use. As Andrew Morrison himself said, we're just going to become a parking lot for Swindon, Bath, Bristol and Salisbury, and people will just live here and drive off and exacerbate the traffic elsewhere, and the community will be gone as well. The master plan is dependent on Redrow, Hammock and Persimmon talking together to speak.
Yeah, I was going to say something. One of the things to also bear in mind is that if you look at the Western development as a project, and I mentioned previously about the concerns about flooding that have been raised. Well, if you looked at purely from where we are in Bath Road and Furnax Lane, there's a project that some of you may be aware of, which was to put a small gypsy site with 4 properties, four pitches, and that's on the corner of Bath Road and Cold Harbour Lane. Now, that's only 4 properties, and compared to the rest of this scheme that we're talking about here, it's a very, very small number of things. However, the one thing to bear in mind is that a lot of the water that would be generated from currently from Warminster playing fields, it flows through that very small triangle of land, and then that creates like a natural sponge. And over a period of time, that will then drain away naturally or will flow into Bath Road. In particularly heavy periods of rain, extended rain, that land becomes completely and utterly waterlogged. And when it rains again, that flows straight into the road. So what we've seen is that one of the main roads into Warminster through Bath Road then is completely flooded, it's blocked. So our concern is that irrespective of whether or not you're looking at a gypsy site there or whether or not it's any other development, you are removing one small triangle of a natural sponge. Now you're talking about a very small area. You then start broadening that out and start looking at the area for the Western development, and you are storing up huge problems for the town and all the residents that will live there, either those in the new buildings or the old buildings that are currently present. And if one of the impacts is that Bath Road floods on a more regular basis, and you've had to have a lot more houses on that side of town, you can see that then is going to create issues. But if that same flooding issue is then created on other roads that also lead in through the Western development, it's a bigger problem. Now, one of our frustrations as a residents committee is the fact that, putting aside the project that we're concerned about, is that there seems to be a complete disconnect with the way that the different council bodies come together. They are not thinking about this as a whole town plan. They're certainly not thinking through all of the different issues that exist, which the residents can quite happily see at the moment. So I know it sounds like, perhaps the resident we're complaining, but we're not complaining just for saying we don't want more houses. We accept that there has to be more housing development within the town. We accept that the bulk of it is at this particular moment in time going to be on the western side. Realistically, over the next 20 or 30 years, it will be developed in the east. town has to have sufficient infrastructure, the roads have to be appropriate, and that's probably one of also the main concerns. It's roads and it's flooding and the impact of the housing on particular communities. So, as residents and as the council, whatever influence we can bring to bear to produce a high quality development.
Can I just say, we just come from near Westbury Lee and they start at 800, it won't stop at that.
No.
For 2 years ago, there's a friend's house in Westbury Lee that looked over some land within the estate. They were going to build 12 houses and it ended up being 24. And the builders will dominate. Once they get in, the council won't stand a chance.
Yeah,
This is why, for instance, in the St Andrews field, we don't want that developed, because it won't just be 900, as you say, because if Persimmon get what their way and build what they want, you're then talking about an extra 220 already above the 900, whereas it could be put to much better use for the benefit of the whole of Warminster, not just us in the west.
The doctor's surgery was supposed to be one side of the road. Somehow they built on it and they had got doctor's surgery in Westbury on the other side. Wherever that started, so they can start building up.
Precisely.
But they will the builders will do what they like.
I think we do need a doctors in the west. If they're going to put all these houses, and apparently, I'm not sure whether they are or not now, I've got lost on that one. They were going to put it there. I think it's moved out now, isn't it?
The point was, I had to stand in a queue for 35 minutes to get to the counter. That's how bad the problem is now, without having these new houses put in. So, unless we get another medical centre, I guess we're going to wait 5 weeks for an appointment now instead of 2.
Well, I think, yes, medical centre is wonderful, but we also know trying to get GPs to actually fill these medical centres throughout the country.
Oh yeah, it's a problem.
And so it's not just we've got 900 houses and the people and we need a medical centre, but the reality is that, I think, is it 2 or 3 GPs from the Avenue retiring this year? And, it's
It's really good.
We haven't even touched on schools, but we've got, one secondary school in the town, and you're looking at putting in another 1,200 houses. That could be the potential for 2,800 children. Where are they going to go?
Just build on the medical piece first. What we know as a fact is that part of the Red Row application did come back with an identified NHS SIL payment. And I can't quite get this straight in my head, but apparently with 212 houses being built, that would equate to £100,600. It was a very odd number, but it's basically 100 grand will cover all the requirements for the NHS to support that population.
No.
Now,
A year's salary.
that is the calculator that is used for all of these things, whether it's for medical needs, educational needs, or even wildlife. Sandra mentioned she had some bats. Red Row acknowledged that there are a couple of bats up there, but not to the extent that we know from a residents' watch point of view. If you pay 25 quid, you can to the relevant bat society, you can have that built. That's all you have to do, irrespective of whether they are a protected species. You have a responsibility to move them, but that's it. And it always comes back to this money pot. In regards to education, I believe that the neighbourhood plan, and this is not something that has been voiced by the developers, but it is a wish from the neighbourhood plan, they are putting forward Kingdown School, expanding and using 1 or 2 of the schlars in the east to do so. And I don't know what that will shape up as, but it's a little bit further down the road from where their main unit is at the moment. In regards to primary education, there is a view to put a new primary school in the West Urban Extension.
But that's a
That's
replacement
how
of the Princecroft one.
Exactly. It's a
So
nice new
it's not
shiny
additional,
building, but
it's
it
a
won't
replacement.
create that many more
So
places.
it's not going to relieve
No.
the problem.
It doesn't necessarily relieve the problem because every single one of our primary schools is full.
Nobody yet has mentioned sewerage. That's different to drainage.
In regards to the development we know the most about, which is what Jeremy's talking about, the surface water drainage, which you're not talking about, yeah, absolutely, is the 7 litre pipe. They're trying to force down 30 litres. They have been told to go back and work harder on creating a solution for that. We've not heard what that solution is.
So that's not the sewerage problem?
No. In regards to sewerage, as I understand it, and we are waiting as a committee to understand this in more detail from the statutory area, which I think is Wessex Water, is it?
Yes.
Wessex Water have not come back with their full findings yet. Their investigations are underway, but it's very similar to other national issues. Our infrastructure is too old and too small to cope with the new influx of sewerage. So it's a big point, and thank you for raising it.
Some of you may or may not be aware of, but once you go beyond the Minster Church, none of us are on main drains. We're all on septic tanks. The only exception would be Granada Services and maybe the industrial estates. Yes, they'll have their own sewage system, but all the residential properties that go up Bath Road are on septic tanks. Now we're having awful problems because the actual water table, because of increased flooding and also because of the increased development on that side of the road, is pushing the water table, at very best, about 1 metre below the ground, and at worst probably half a metre below the ground. So when you look at, say, the Gypsy site development, that land there is such that they can't build septic tanks on it, because what happens is, although septic tanks have been built in the past, the environment agencies won't allow you to build new ones if the water table is incredibly high. So again, all of this type of development means that if you then were going to have a wider project, you actually say, right, not only do we need to cope with that, but we also need to cope with what do we do about mains drainage for the other properties that are on Bath Road. It's a much wider concern. So I mean, whilst certainly sewage for this extended project, the new project is crucially important. I mean, it's also the impact on the existing buildings within Broadway.
And of course, it's the other side of the hill, so where our existing sewage farm is.
Yeah.
Sewerage and the drainage that we've discussed. What about the infrastructure first? Get the infrastructure, then you can build the houses. There's no point building houses and then wondering what you're going to do with the additional water that you've created and the additional sewage. You've got to plan ahead.
From a perspective of having a neighbourhood plan, it makes us stronger in the eyes of the developers, particularly if it's in line with the core strategy, which is what we're voting for, i.e. the 900 houses. What it doesn't do is emphasise ideas to complement that West Urban extension, and that's the piece around Folly Lane and the idea of Rear Bath. Please make sure that you vote for it in your neighbourhood plan.
Well, I've been informed by people at Folly, obviously you know I own some land up there, that there is a lot of people around there at the moment in yellow coats taking measurements and actually being seen on my property.
I'm not aware of anything that is going up, but I agree with you, I've seen more activity.
Sorry, I was just going to say about Folly Lane. I mean, when Red Row initially had their little display, we were absolutely assured that Folly Lane wouldn't be involved at all. Then all of a sudden we hear, oh, we'll just use it for construction traffic, which we know that would just demolish. Now I understand that that has been, verbally, they've agreed they won't use it, but is there anything in writing?
Red Row said they wouldn't build anything above 2 stories, but in that same presentation, and in fact now they're talking about 3 stories.
But haven't they come to a deal with the rugby club to use the rugby club?
No, because what they've done, the S106 money, apparently that Red Row informed the rugby club that actually the money that the rugby club thought they were going to get is being allocated to a swimming pool. So the rugby club are no longer talking to Red Row.
Yeah.
With me 3 months ago.
Did they?
Yes.
And said, can we go in your land?
They wanted my land.
Oh yes.
Are you going to sell it?
No.
Good. Then you see them with a shotgun.
But that's what I'm wondering. Now that I know that, obviously makes a bit more.
Yeah.
It's all falling into place.
What I would say in terms of the construction access, yes, I do have it in writing from both Red Row and the council that Folly Lane will not be used as a construction access road. In regards to the St Andrews Road link road that is advertised in the core strategy and in the neighbourhood plan as A10, that is a work of fiction by Red Row. It encompasses all of the land from Victoria Road to Folly Lane. They do not own it all, and there are private landowners at the top there that do not wish to sell any more than you do, Chris. Now, in regards to how it's going to end up, I can't say. The link road is required if they do get planning permission. The link road, I can see no real desire or need for it, or even aim of what it's supposed to do if they don't build on it. If it's supposed to be a relief road from traffic from West Street and the Obelisk,
Just going to be feeding
then
somewhere else.
there is no need for it, because Masefield Road is already 50 yards down the road, and it seems an awful lot of money to spend on having a link road that would then use up the space and destroy what could potentially be a fantastic centralised sporting opportunity for the town.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Tracy. This was a good session.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you all.
Thank you, panel.
Brilliant.